and welcome to Cabaret Beat Season 2. I am your host, Wydetta Carter, and I am thrilled to bring you more members of the Chicago Cabaret Professionals and let you find out a little bit more about why they do what they do. This is such an exciting year for the cabaret community as we celebrate 100 years of cabaret in Chicago.
Today's guests are the Feathered Beaus.
So we invite you to relax, sit back, join in the chat. Here we go with Cabaret Beat. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2.
It's so strange he doesn't show me more affection than he needs. Almost formal to respectful, never takes romantic needs. There are times where I imagine I'm not always on his mind. He's not thinking what I'm thinking. Always half a step behind. Always half a step behind. All in all, I'm all at sea. Easy terms I thought I wanted fill me now with children. You will never know the chaos of a life turned on its head. Of a life turned on its head. Oh, oh, oh.
So excited. I have a group of individuals in front of me called the Feathered Beaus. Welcome.
Hi.
Oh, so good to see you, mooses and all. I love it. I love it. And I am thrilled that you're here on Cabaret Beat with me and that our audiences are going to get to know who you are. You have a fabulous reputation, and I'm going to read a little intro about you. You tour regionally and international. You are Chicago's own cabaret boy band. Woohoo! You thrill the audiences far and wide, and your music styles are anything from blues to jazz to musical theater to pop, and you do it all with style, sassiness, humor, and dazzling vocal harmonies. Give yourselves a round of applause. That's right. Pat on the back and everything else. Oh, let's I am welcoming Kylie Baer and Olin and Kiki and Justin. Woohoo! Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Oh, I am so thrilled. And right now, we're going to talk about the group as a whole, but I want everyone to get to know who you are a little bit. And so I want you to tell us a little bit when I call your name, tell us your full name and just give us a little, history of how you got to where you are today. I mean, if you have to go back to 8 years old or whatever to tell us, that's fine too. But tell us the history of, how music became a part of your life and when you decided that, you were going to make sure it was front and center and all that you do. And then we'll get to see how you all came together. So let's talk with Kylie Baer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kylie Baer. And music has just been a part of my life since I was a child. I would constantly sing to everyone who would listen to me. I would take my tape recorder out to the nursing home, and I had a very captive audience there. And they loved it. They loved every second of it. And one of the strongest motivators when I was young was candy. I would sing for candy and go door to door. But that grew into me touring as a teenager. And then I went to school for choral methods at Luther College. And so I really became involved in choral music. That led me to Northwestern, where I studied opera and vocal performance, and that brought me to Chicago. And from there, I toured around and did different shows and cruise ships. And then I came back and planted some roots here and decided that my medium was cabaret.
Wow. So you studied opera. I love that.
I did.
Okay. So every once in a while, you'll throw an aria out there, right? In your show. You should.
Not so much anymore. No, I don't. I really haven't sung like that in 15 years. So, it's a very different style of music. And
it is. Yes,
very different
it is.
placement. And honestly, that placement doesn't serve blending and this group very well. So I sort of had to relearn my technique a little bit to put it in my pingy spot and make the sound a little more narrow so that I could blend with everybody, because I previously I would stick out like a sore thumb, so I sort of checked that all a few years back so I could be with my voice.
Well, and so there are times in life we have to make our adjustments, but it's the foundation is there. There's a lot that goes into opera singing. So, and then you mentioned cruise ships. Well, I'm a Gina and Ryan. Anybody who knows that, Norwegian cruise line. So I know all about the cruise world. Which cruise line did you work for?
I was on Norwegian. The Star, the Dream, the Dawn.
The Dream. The Dream. The original Dream. We took out the ship. Dream Girls, honey. Dream Girls. We have to look back and see if we were on the ship together and we just didn't know it.
I wonder, it was 2005 and 6 that I would.
Okay, I was there a little bit before you. But the Dream. Woohoo! It's you and me, babe. Love you guys, but hey, we just made a connection. Okay, so.
Well, and the whole way I got that gig was, one, they cast me as a dancer. I don't know why. I guess I could move. But they needed somebody to play the Phantom in the Andrew Lloyd Webber review. So having an operatic background and starting to make my way into musical theater, I had sort of that perfect marriage of sound that they were looking for. So.
Right. Well, yay. Yes. Okay. That's wonderful. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much. Hey, Olin, tell us about you.
All right. My name is Olin Eargle. Just
for my professional singing, I just used the name Olin. I'm originally from South Carolina via North Carolina and then moved to Chicago, but I'm a Southern boy at heart and I grew up in the church. My mom is actually the music director at our church currently that I grew up in, and just learned how to sing by being with her and joining in the youth choir. And then when I went to college in North Carolina at Appalachian State University, I got a degree in musical theater and was also in the gospel choir as well for 4 years, which are two completely different styles of music, but I was able to figure out how to marry those two, gospel and musical theater. And then when I moved to Chicago, I actually didn't do any music for about 2 years because I was focusing on my new job directly out of college, and needed to get back into it because I was missing it so very much. And I was lucky enough to see one of Kyle's shows back when the Cabaret Project first started in the mid 2000s or late 2000s. I literally walked up to him, introduced myself and said, "This is what I need in my life. I want to be in your group." And I auditioned, and I've been now part of the group for going on 13, 14 years or something like that. And have made my home here in the cabaret scene in Chicago.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you just walked up and said, "This is what I need to do." You
Honey,
need to
I
let me
introduced
in.
myself and basically, without having a resume in hand, invited myself into the group.
He skipped up to me. He was so delighted. He skipped literally up the
You
aisle.
skipped-
It was at the album folks. I remember it very clearly.
Well, it was the style of music that I was in love with, and the way that he had put this show on just attracted me so much. And you don't have that unique opportunity many times when you're seeing shows, but this was a venue and a style of music that I literally was able to walk up afterwards and said, "I like what you're doing. That's what I do. I want to be part of it." And it was funny because he was like, "Who are you and can you even sing?" And I was like, "Yes, I promise." And so I ended up doing a normal audition. I'll say normal with air quotes. But yeah, I literally just wanted to be part of it, and I'm so glad that I did.
Oh, wow, that's good. That's great. I love it. You've got to be bold. I'm sorry, in this business, if you want to get ahead and you see something that you want to do, if you don't go after it, it's not going to come to you. You have to go after it. So, again, pat yourself on the back. You did it, and look where you are.
That's great.
But I want to go back to something you said, that you were singing in the choir. Your mom still conducts at your church. Did you want to be in the choir, or was it something that, I don't, is your family musical? Because some kids are like, "Look, they said, you're coming to church with me, and if you're going to come to church with me, you're going to be in the choir. You're not going to sit behind me while I'm conducting. You're going to sing." So is it what you wanted to do? Were you a little hesitant, or what?
I cannot remember a day that I wasn't singing. And so I think the answer is it was just ingrained in me. And what I was told was that my mom used to always sing whenever she was pregnant with me. And so that whole thing about, hearing your mom's voice and learning music that way. I do remember singing all throughout my childhood, and it was something I loved. And it is still something that I remember doing as a kid. I'll tell you the one thing I was not happy about was that my voice did not change for a very long time. And so when it did, she wouldn't let me sing soprano anymore. I had to actually sing a men's part. So I was able to sing and be in the choir for as long as I was, but then she said, "Honey, you have to sing tenor now." And I was like, "No, I want to sing with the girls." So that was the one thing. And to this day, I would rather be an alto than any other part. I'd say about 75% of the time I hold down the middle alto line here in our group, and that's just where my heart lies. But no, to answer your question, it's always been something I've wanted to do. And my dad sings as well. And my sister does not sing, but she plays clarinet. So normally when we would sing as a family, we would break up the 4 parts, and my sister would just play the clarinet, and we would have a 4-part as a family. Yeah.
Now I'm trying to hear that. 3 people singing, and then the clarinet part. Okay, well
My mom would sing soprano, my sister would play the alto line, I'd sing tenor, my dad bass, and we just had our own little family quartet when we're driving, to Thanksgiving in the car, just bopping along. So.
Okay, so not that you have to provide this, but there are videos of this, right?
Girl, I wish we weren't good enough to have a camcorder. So it's just in my memory. Yeah.
Okay.
Just up here.
Just in the car, driving along, everybody and your sister with the clarinet. I love it. I can envision that. That works for me. Oh, okay, Kiki.
Hi. Well, I'm Kyle Russell. I'm also a Kyle. So when I came into the cabaret group, there was 3 Kyles in our sphere. So we renamed myself Kiki, which I go by anyway. So it just kind of worked out that way. I grew up on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. I'm pretty much the only musician, only performer in my family. And I knew from a very young age that singing and performing was something I wanted to do. Music just held a very large space in my life, and not so much for anyone else in my family. So I knew that was something that was different for me. And then I got into any pageant that my church was doing, any way that I could sing, I sang in that church. I got into band when I was in high school, middle school, and college, and that's where like my love of like classical music took root. But I started just kind of like venturing out into other realms of music. Like I was listening to Erykah Badu and Fiona Apple and classical music, and a lot of rock and roll that my dad was listening to. So it was just kind of like a very broad spectrum. And then I found musicals, and it was just kind of like, this is it. Give me all of these. And so I just started performing as much as I could after that. I did any community theater show I could from the time I could drive myself to rehearsals. And even before that, I was like, Dad, I have rehearsal at 6 p.m. in Biloxi, 30 minutes away, we gotta go. So I was always the one that was on the go rather than my sisters, because they had other things going on, but I was always in rehearsals somewhere. So my dad was like, let's get this kid a car so he can go by himself. And then,
Well, it is funny when you tell your dad 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute drive. We have to go now. Your dad's like 30 minutes.
The director is going to be pissed if I'm late.
And then wait, didn't he have to wait for you then too until it was done to bring you home?
Yep. They would sit out in the parking lot.
So there you go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. So you did that, and
and then I went to college at the University of Southern Mississippi and got my degree in theater there, and then moved to Chicago literally the next day after I graduated. And then about a year later, I auditioned for Olin and Kyle, and I didn't get cast initially. So my first role with the Cabaret Project was turning on the lights for them. I did it.
Oh, you mean literally turning on the lights for them?
They were performing at the Drake Hotel, and I clicked the lights, and I was like, goodbye. And then, I took over for someone else.
I didn't expect it to be literally, click the lights on.
Yep. It was like
they gave you a job. Come on.
Yes, I was like an understudy after that. And then I started like writing shows for us and helping Kyle produce, costume, and then we all formed the Beaus together after that. Yeah, and it's been a crazy ride ever since.
Okay, but before we go any further, and I just want to know, what is a stolen stuffed goose? What you stole?
Okay, so here's the thing. We did a tour to Kyle's hometown. We were doing a fundraiser in Odebolt, Iowa, and Kyle's family had just a bunch of, what do you call those? Taxidermy
Trophies.
Trophies.
Yeah, call them trophies.
Oh.
And so we were packing up to leave, and we like very conspicuously got this goose in the car, me and our former castmate Adam, and got it in the car. And Kyle's like driving down the highway and just sees a silhouette of a goose head in the back window. And he's like, what is that? And we had named her Betty. And I was like, oh, that's Betty. She's coming back home with us.
Okay.
So we just took it from his parents' house.
We can't send you guys anywhere.
Oh, we vandalized that Iowa town for sure.
Well, did Betty sit on the piano for a while after that? Betty just kind of adorned the piano.
She oversaw rehearsals for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then. All right. And I'm sorry, I didn't expect that one either. Okay, you're throwing things at me there. I love it.
What to expect from 4 of us, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Justin, over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. I'm Justin Harner. I'm maybe the only native
Illinois person here. I'm from Central Illinois originally, just slowly worked my way up here. I knew I'd come to Chicago at some point. My background is definitely the church too. That was it, singing, playing piano. I think that's a familiar story for a lot of us, right?
A lot of people, yeah.
And I think my mother initially, I was connecting with Olin's story because my mother initially taught me piano. And when you're 7 years old, you don't want your mother telling you what to do all the time. So I very quickly fell out of piano, with her, but somehow she convinced me to go to another teacher, local teacher nearby. And I'm so thankful that happened, or else I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
I went to Bloomington, Indiana for college, and I studied theater and drama too, but piano's just always kind of been there on the side. And I think it was after college, moving up to Chicago, I was acting in several stage productions, and somebody, I think they lost an audition pianist for a company here, and somebody asked, "Oh, you play piano, don't you?" And that was the lightest yet most consequential heavy question that has ever been asked of me. Because ever since then, I'm the go-to audition pianist just because I have a natural talent for sight reading. I became a musical director for a lot of things. So I really have a hand in so many different areas in Chicago, all because somebody flippantly asked me a question during a rehearsal.
And there you have it. I mean, that's all it takes. You're like, yeah, I do. Okay. Well, okay. And so, no, you have done some stage, you said you're an actor, singer too. So what did you do before you actually decided, accompanying and playing the piano was going to be more what you do? Or do you still do theater?
I do occasionally. I was part of a company called Brown Paper Box Company here.
Oh, okay.
I think, unfortunately, was another one of those casualties of the past couple years, right?
Right.
I was an artistic associate with them and performed a lot of both new works and Shakespeare. I kind of filled the whole gamut of acting as well, too.
Okay. And then how did you connect with these other three gentlemen next to you?
That's a good question. I know it's through one of the Kyles.
I had seen Justin play for a gentleman at the Magic Lounge when they were doing their cabaret evenings. And in the back of my mind, I'm always looking for a pianist. Well, we were producing a lot of stuff in Lake Geneva at the time. And so I was shuttling entertainers up there for various shows. And one fateful murder mystery night, our pianist called out, and Sierra White was playing the female lead in that murder mystery. I think it was a murder mystery show, right? And she said, "Oh, I found somebody." And we went and picked him up. I didn't know who it was. And we went and picked up Justin, and he came up and played the show with us. And we were like, "Oh, you're great." And on the way back down, we were talking. We're like, "I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere." And he was like, "I don't know." And then all of a sudden it clicked that he was the pianist I had seen at the Magic Lounge. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's you." and here we are. Like he's started filling in and then has now just become a huge part of this family. Mm-hmm. So
wow, there you go. So now, Justin, remember the story now, okay? So next time somebody asks you,
lock it in.
Lock it in. That's wonderful.
At least
oh my goodness,
pretty straight now, right?
Wow. Okay. So thank you for sharing that a little bit about each of you. That now we know a lot more. So what does it say? Now how they came. And so we're going to take a quick little break right here, and then we're going to be back with some more.
I'm Kylie Baer from the Feathered Beaus, and welcome to tonight's classic cocktail tutorial using this beautiful Cabaret vodka.
So the Feathered Beaus are in front of us. But before we find out how that name came about, there's something I would love for you each to, pitch in and share a little information about, and that is the Cabaret Project. I believe this has been around for 15 years. Am I correct? About 15 years or longer?
Oh heavens, 2007 was when it all started. It was living in my brain prior to that, but in 2007 it was incorporated and started producing. So
Okay, so it was living in your brain. So tell us what was in your brain and how it came out.
well, when I was working on cruise ships, I had a lot of time to myself, and I was starting to think about what I wanted to do when I got back home here to Chicago. And I cooked up all of these cabaret shows in a little notebook that I still have.
Mhm.
And so I kind of wrote out all these themes and songs that would go into them. And then I was thinking about how they would be costumed and what sort of thing. And it was marrying a lot of what I was doing on the ship with cruise ship review shows, in bringing that sort of production value onto cabaret stages. And so it was born out of that. And then when we started actually producing shows, it was just me and another girl, and then it was me and that other girl in Olin, and then it was, we started to snowball, and our shows we started collecting singers. So I was using a lot of different talent to produce these review shows. They all had a theme. I generally picked the music. We were producing them all over the place, and then it just continued to grow and grow and grow. Now, initially, and it is still incorporated as the Chicago Cabaret Project, which we needed to rebrand because our acronym was also CCP.
Mhm.
So clearly that was very confusing for people at the time. So we're TCP now, and I rebranded pretty quickly, like right around 2010. I think I rebranded it. But legally, it's still the Chicago Cabaret Project. And so and like I said, it just kept snowballing. We kept meeting interesting people, producing these beautiful shows everywhere, diversifying our portfolio. We started caroling, when there were 4 of us in the group.
Yeah. This is actually one of my favorite stories. Is somebody came to our cabaret show where it was just 4 singers, and they walked up to us at the end and said, "Do you guys Christmas carol?" And without batting an eye, we were like, yes, we do,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
And it ended up being the entertainment director for the Drake Hotel. And so we went and auditioned for them out of them seeing our cabaret show. And that's been one of our longest contracts, is actually performing as Christmas carolers for the Drake downtown. And now we're up to how many? 18 performers that we mix and match into different quartets. And that all came out of one of our very first cabaret shows. Yeah, I love that.
So
Wow. So even though it wasn't something that you had done before, you said yes, and then said, "Okay, we're doing this." And
He gave us sheet music for Joy to the World and said, "Get your part. We're going down on Tuesday."
We did. We went in with 3 hymns, and I had a costumer friend, Alex Meadows, who worked at Loyola, and he hooked us up with Dickensian costumes, and we marched our butts out of the Drake and changed there and sang those songs, and we've been doing it ever since. So that's kind of what we do during the holiday season. But then the Cabaret Project kept growing and diversifying, because I started what I call the Soiree series, and that was a media stunt that I cooked up with a PR person. And I wanted to have more presence and credibility in the arts community. And so we joined the League of Chicago Theaters as a production company, as a theater production company. And then I started flipping these mansions into cabarets for a night. So we would go into these historic mansions, and I would do all the cocktails. I would cater it myself. I have all the serviceware to do that. I would move the furniture, light the room, bring in cabaret tables. And we started doing those quarterly. So I think we did 4 or 5 of those. And it was really unique because it was a very underground thing before anybody was doing underground things. And it was featured in Chicago Social and on 190 North, and the Reader picked it up, and like it was all over the news. And I was like, well, it worked. It worked.
And so, you did it all. You just like, I can just do everything, catering, set up everything.
was so much work. Yes, yes, it consumed my life, and I really didn't make any money doing that, but that wasn't the point. The point was to really like make something splashy and fun and unique, and those always sold out. That led us to this really eccentric woman came to the show on one very snowy night when we had it at the Fleischman Mansion on LaSalle, and she came in and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I own these historic mansions in Lake Geneva, and you're exactly what I'm looking for." And so we started working with her and going to Lake Geneva to do what we were doing here in Chicago at the soiree series. So working in Lake Geneva replaced what we were doing here. So we haven't been really present in the Chicago scene very much because we're out of town so much, you know. So those mansions, we were doing speakeasy shows, ballroom shows. We started doing murder mystery shows. We were doing immersive experiences where we all dressed in 1920s gear at Gatsby parties, and we'd do pop-up performances all over these houses, you know, as character entertainers. And so it just kept growing and evolving. And then, so part of the trajectory was always, well, we need a physical space. And, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, "Don't dream it, be it," from Rocky Horror, right? So I cook up all these crazy scenarios, but I also follow through and think of it. And so when I wrote a business plan for a physical cabaret space and how it would work, and I was taking my bar experience and everything, molding it all together, and this crazy happenstance came along one day, and I got a phone call from a guy who lived in St. Louis who was like, "I remember reading your business plan. I'm sitting in a bar. The owner asked me if I wanted to buy it, and I immediately thought of you. I think that model would work here." And then that brought me down to St. Louis, where I opened the Monocle and started a cabaret there. Now the goal was always to hone it there in St. Louis and then open one in Chicago next. You know, but it was very tumultuous. The market was struggling. The area of the city that we were in was difficult, but everybody in St. Louis, anyone who ever saw the space or did a show there was like, "This is my favorite room." And they would say things like, New Yorkers would come play the room and say, "I wish New York had something like this." Like when Coco Peru came in and played the room, she was like, "I wish Los Angeles had something like this." And I was like, well, we're onto something, you know. And Leslie Jordan comes to play there, and that's how we really got connected into the cabaret circuit, you know, where people, and it was Amy Armstrong who went down to St. Louis to help me open that venue. Because one of the big influencers when I was younger, before I started doing this, was Voltaire and the style of show that Voltaire did, which was a cabaret club in Boys Town, if you didn't experience it or don't remember it. And so I always wanted that for my life. That was what I wanted, you know. So I built that, you know, and I built it with Amy. She took me down there, and then she connected us to all these people, and we started getting calls to go perform in Puerto Vallarta. So we were doing Lake Geneva, St. Louis, Puerto Vallarta, and just like expanding. So we didn't have a lot of time to connect with our home audience here in Chicago.
It made sense to lose the name Chicago because we were the traveling Cabaret Project. Drop Chicago.
So we, you know, and then we ended up over in Saugatuck, and we play at the Dunes, and it's just,
I love Saugatuck. Love it.
You know, we're just all over the map. And so people, it's really funny. We've been around forever, and it feels like, and Chicago audiences are just starting to discover us, and for good reason, because we're always gone.
Well, you know? As a thing, like speaking of Puerto Vallarta, like towards the end of like the Cabaret Project and into the Feathered Beaus, we lost a bunch of our females cast members because, you know, they're having kids, they're getting married, and they're doing other things with their life, which left us to create this boy band. And that's where the Feathered Beaus, like the Cabaret Project went this way and the Feathered Beaus went this way. And we started developing that act. And that's really what's really been taking root here in Chicago and been able to elevate us and bring our presence back.
See, and that's great to know, because I didn't realize, I thought they were always two separate things, the Chicago Project and then the Feathered Beaus. But then I said, wait, they seem to be coming out of the same, you know, thing. And I was like, okay, I can't wait to find out just the history of this. And that's great. So basically the Feathered Beaus, even though you're a part of it, you are now separate, or
Legally, the Cabaret Project produces the Feathered Beaus, but they are separate production entities.
okay. But so before we now move on to Feathered Beaus, in the particulars, do you all still do the Dickens caroling? All of you?
Oh,
I was there yesterday.
yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because they're everywhere, but that still is something that some of the women that were part of the group can still do. You still need those two voices. So, or are they all, or not? Maybe you don't.
Think about it like the Cabaret Project is just the umbrella company with all of the arms. And so underneath that, we have the Feathered Beaus, the caroling troupe, the murder mysteries. We have a number of female performers that do, one person shows and 2-person shows, and it's all kind of under the cabaret name. However, we primarily focused on the Feathered Beaus and caroling for the most part for the past couple of years.
Okay, perfect. All right. So now, who came up with the name, the Feathered Beaus?
His ex.
Okay.
Coming back from Iowa, and he called me and he said, "I've got the perfect name." He just came up with it and said, "What about Feathered Beaus?" And it's a play on feathered boas, like glitz and glamour and feathers. And I was like, "That's it. Keep it. Write it down."
And it has nothing to do with Betty the Goose either.
I am. This is all starting to come back to me now. That's right.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that happened. Well, I blocked a lot of that chapter. My ex. But,
Like, I don't know. It's a fog. But that's
the
great.
conversation where that came out of is that, okay, so no surprise, I'm a Francophile, right? So I love Paris and the idea of cabaret, the history of cabaret being there, and that's why I work so much with Claudia and the Cabaret Connexion. My ex also got on that train and became passionate about France and Paris, and so he was the one who took me there, which is how Beaus came into the picture. Of course, he thought of it because he was actually studying French, which I never got the chance to really do. But the root of it, the conversation, was that I was developing another product at the time called Fox and Feathers, and it was a male-female duo act for the hotels in Lake Geneva. And it was speakeasy 1920s. It was like early Tin Pan Alley music and stuff that you just really don't hear very often. It's a little more obscure, but like early 20th century music that was stylized and costumed. And that was Fox and Feathers, and that never really took off. And so I was like, I wish Fox and Feathers would work. And then we were playing around with feathers. And then you're right, he totally connected the dots and put bows on it. I forgot.
I love it. Well, creativity is everywhere. We take it from everyone. And I mean, I love the name of it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. All right. So what was your first, do you recall, what was your first show as the Feathered Beaus?
It was so we got booked in Puerto Vallarta for our first big gig as the Feathered Beaus, and we did an out-of-town tryout in St. Louis at the Monocle the weekend before we left for Puerto Vallarta, and ran the show for 2 weeks in Puerto Vallarta after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we needed to put something on the stage in Puerto Vallarta. The year before, we had our women in the shows. All of them moved out to the burbs and kind of became a little inactive with us. And so we had to put something on the stage, and that's what drove it. I think our very first show, though, was out in Berwyn at
with
Becca Kaufman.
That
It
was
was
Well, that was like a collaboration.
at Fitzgerald's.
Yeah.
Yes,
We did it. We came on for. She was running a series at the time, and we did 2 songs on that lineup as the Beaus.
That was the first Beaus on stage
at Fitzgerald's with a band. So we were out. That was the very first thing we ever did, and then everybody loved it. And we're like, oh well, I guess this is gonna work, So.
I love your stories are like, well, let's just try this and go, okay, hey, it works. Good. We got that. Let's go.
I went at the wall. 6.
Yeah, but that's how it is. You just put it out there. And, I think we underestimate audiences, and we try to second guess what we think they want to see and what they'll accept. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, oh, I was right. So I can try this again with something else and with something else. And I think what's really wonderful for you all is that people see you and it triggers something in them to create and help create another venue for you. You know what I mean? So what you're doing is spot on because you're also making other people think. And like the woman you said, this, I have mansions over here, come over here, this is what I need. Okay. It's like, and so that opened up another world for you. And I just think if you really sit back and look at everything you've just said, you know, you're touching the people that you need to touch. And you just, whatever you choose to do, just know that somebody's out there watching and appreciative. And, they say, it comes back at you when you least expect it in a positive way. So there's nothing you've said thus far that has been negative about anything. I mean, I'm quite sure you maybe tried one or two things that maybe didn't work, but for the most part, you know, we all thrive for entertainment of all sorts. We all love music of all genres, and everything you see you do now, you're covering so many areas of music that I'm just, you can only go up from here. It's just, there's only 24 hours in a day though, so I don't know how you do it. 7 days a week, but you have a lot of positive support, and I think you, like I said, everyone should be proud of this project and everything that falls underneath it. And I think that the Feathered Beaus is just, like I said, I've just mentioned the group name and people are just like, oh my gosh, I've heard of them. Yes, I know. So even though you might not know, and I'm more for the world of theater. So I'm pretty much theater, I do cabaret, but theater. And everybody there knows who you are. So, and let me tell you, go to Sidetracks one night and mention your name. And, it's like, oh, those guys, yeah, we know that. It's like, oh, see what I mean? I mean, I'm here for the video night. You went, but so the Feathered Beaus. Now you have another story that just before the pandemic hit, I think you were going to work with, or you did work with Leslie Jordan, who is just, oh, I love him. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. First of all, I don't know how you can keep a straight face working with him. He's just he just goes like this. But so tell us about that story. What could have happened or is going to happen still, or what's going on?
Leslie, the thing about Leslie is he has stories for days. It's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And we had actually opened for Leslie one other time at Hydrate. It was his one-man show that he was doing. And we met his manager, Don, and we just developed this like really loving relationship between us and Don and Leslie. And so I'm not sure, is that how the Christmas gig came along?
Yeah, Don called me up, and it's all really connected because Amy Armstrong had been working with Leslie down in Puerto Vallarta, and then Don was managing Leslie, and then he started managing Amy and Freddie, and then she introduced us when I was doing the St. Louis project with her. And so when they came to Chicago, Don called me up and had us open for Leslie at Hydrate, and then called me again and was like, would you like to do a longer set and like do a pre-show for Leslie's shows, for his holiday show? And it was Deck Them Halls, y'all.
Deck Them Halls, y'all.
Deck Them Halls, y'all.
And as a country boy, I'm sure Kiki feels the same. Yeah. I was totally down for that kind of show with Leslie Jordan. Yeah.
So
wow.
We did it. We did the show. It was the last show that we did
before the
pandemic. And we usually go into hibernation and rehearsal and make new material, January, February. Mm-hmm. And then our season really runs like March through December. And then all of a sudden everyone was canceled. So
right.
And we just have been slowly getting back at it now.
But the cool thing about that show in particular was we didn't feel like we were only opening for Leslie. We actually got the opportunity to write a song, like a parody song about him, and then also do a song with him. Yeah. So it didn't feel like our last show right before the pandemic you're just opening and then you go sit in the corner somewhere. We were actually performing alongside him. It was fantastic. He and his manager were also both so lovely to work with and complimented how great the experience was. And unbeknownst to all of us, that was our last show for what, a 18-month period. So at least we went out on a really fantastic note. And as most people probably know, during the pandemic, Leslie went crazy on Instagram and started doing all of this stuff where he just got tons of followers. And we got to sit back and be like, that's our last experience in the cabaret world. Wasn't that cool? I mean, it was just so neat. Yeah.
Wow. And so, and I heard you say you wrote a parody about him.
We did. We turned Santa Baby into Leslie Baby, and it was a little more risque, Wydetta. So I don't know if we can actually sing that, but we really.
I can only imagine because we're talking about Leslie.
If you know Leslie's humor, it was right up his alley. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, oh my gosh, time is flying. But before. So who in the group does write music, or do you all write?
The way we put things together is that we all come together and we bring songs to the table that we want to bring for the season. And we also, when we're rehearsing stuff, if we hear something that'll fit with another song, we'll just mash those songs together, 2, 3, 4 songs at a time, whatever makes sense in our head. So it's really a collaborative process between all of us.
It's a lot of woodshedding, and we don't have a lot written down because none of us really write music. So our arrangements mostly just live within us, and that can be very challenging.
It was Justin's notes.
Up here.
Justin's iPad.
Don't let your iPad down.
Don't lose that iPad. It has everything.
We write more.
Insurance?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's the version of if you had a binder of copy, pasted, sticky notes, but now that all lives in a single iPad, thank goodness, or else I'd be carrying a giant book around with me everywhere.
We counted the other day, there is over 150, 175 songs in our ready to go book, and there's a ton more that's in the queue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. And coming from a singer, that's a lot. But if I actually sat down and tried to figure out how many songs I actually know, it makes sense.
Well, that's also a mix of trio, duets, and solos as well. So let's be clear about that. But still, it's a ton of music that we can put together. Whenever we write shows, we figure out what the theme is or where it's going to be and what we want to do that evening. And we're able to, give each person the opportunity to do a couple solos, a number of duet mixes, and then the full trio.
Well, also, another thing that separates the Cabaret Project from the Feathered Beaus is that the Cabaret Project was very much theme-based. All of the shows were themed. And the Beaus is more like a jukebox where we just bring everything we want to the table and just say, these are the songs we're doing tonight. And if something doesn't work, we switch it out for another one. Or if we're not feeling one, we bring another one in. And it's very much a big difference.
It's a more versatile model. Because the previous productions, were very set. There was 14 songs. It was choreographed. It was costumed. It was tight, but you only have those 14 songs as an ensemble. And so you would sell tickets for a period of time, but then it would just kind of go away, and you would work on the next one and launch that. And it wasn't very productive because we were just constantly making a new show. So there's way more productivity in just having an arsenal of songs that we can offer as a group product, so the show is the Beaus, we dropped the feathered a little bit from it, as we have moved along. So we sort of just refer to ourselves as the Beaus, and our fans are our Beau friends. But we're always, but it's when you think about producing a cabaret show, and especially when it's multiple voices, it's very difficult to have a large canon of music. And so with us just being together season after season under this one umbrella product, where it's still morphing, it's still evolving, which is awesome.
Wow. Also, so hold on one second for me. We got to take a pause here. So before we go to the song you're going to sing, I had asked you all to prepare just a favorite quote So let's just start with Justin and go across and just say what your favorite quote is for all of us.
Great. Mine is, man, sometimes it takes a long time to learn how to play like yourself, which is Miles Davis.
That's a good one.
I love that. Yeah. Mine is from Elaine Stritch, because even as a seasoned performer, she gets nervous on stage. And it's one of those things that I identify with as many years that I've been singing. But she always used to say, I'm protected by prosceniums. Meaning when you're standing there and you're looking out, you're protected by that. So I think about that every time before I go on stage.
And mine I already brought up, it's Don't Dream It, Be It from Rocky Horror.
Love
I
it.
don't necessarily have a favorite quote, but I have a favorite saying, and it's "What if?" I actually have it tattooed on my arm right here, and it reminds me that continually try things, continually be creative, and always question what would happen if you did this.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun and so enlightening. I'm wishing you the best always. I look forward to seeing and hearing more of you and the new projects you will come up with. But before we move on, we want to hear you sing. So what is it you're going to sing for us?
Well, the music world has just recently lost a bright shining star named Stephen Sondheim. And so today we would like to do Being Alive for you.
Okay.
Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep. Make me aware of being alive. Being alive. Being alive. Someone you have to let in, someone whose feelings you spare, someone who, like it or not, will want you to share a lot of being alive, being alive. Somebody crowd me with love, somebody force me to care, somebody make me come through, who'll always be there, as frightened as you, of being alive, being alive, being alive, being alive. Somebody crowd me with love. Somebody hurt me too deep. Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep and make me aware of being alive, being alive, make me alive, make me confused, mock me with praise, let me be used, vary my days, but alone is alone, not alone.
beautiful. The Feathered Beaus. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been so much fun.
It's been our pleasure.
Thank you so
much
very
for
much.
having us.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us for another Cabaret Beat. I hope you'll be back next time. If you would like to learn more about Chicago Cabaret Professionals or make a donation, please visit us at the website. Look at the link below. Take care and see you next time on Cabaret Beat.